Hello everybody, it's Lee Montgomery of SceneDaily.com bringing you this weekend's WIX Filters Pick 3 Fantasy Racing Stock Car Challenge picks. Well, driver rating doesn't work all the time, as we found out at Bristol last weekend. Darn that, Matt Kenseth. Anyway, that's what NASCAR's driver rating said to go with, and I did, and didn't do so well. Remember the picks out of the hat? Ended up doing better than a driver rating, believe it or not. This week I won't go with a hat, but since we're at Martinsville Speedway, there's really only two choices. You either have Jimmie Johnson or Jeff Gordon. And for Tier 1, I'm going to go with Jeff Gordon. Although really, Jimmie Johnson tells you that you should go with him. You know, in the last 4 races at Martinsville, all with the new car that Sprint Cup is using these days, Johnson's won 3 times and finished 4th in the other. So really, you can't go wrong picking him. So why am I going heck with going Gordon then? Well, I think he's due, plain and simple. Also, in the last 4 races, he's been pretty darn good too. 2nd twice, 3rd once, and 4th once. So it's time for Gordon to break through and end that long winless streak that he's been on since 2007, actually. And I think he's going to do it this time. If you pick any of those other 2 guys, you're making a big mistake. Especially if you go with somebody from Roush Fenway, because Roush Fenway is just terrible at Martinsville for whatever reason. So Tier 2, I'm going to go with Juan Pablo Montoya. I know it sounds like a strange pick for a short track and a guy who used to race in Formula 1, but he's got the 10th most points in the last 4 races of any of the drivers, especially in Tier 2. Ryan Newman is close to Montoya in Tier 2, but Newman's totals are based on pretty much one race where he finished 2nd and he wasn't very good in the other ones. Montoya, meanwhile, has 1 top 10 in the last 4 and has been 16th or better in the other races, and that's pretty good. For Tier 3, I'm going to go with David Reutimann. Reutimann doesn't have really gaudy stats, but you don't really need him in Tier 3. You just need a guy that's going to be around at the end of the race and is going to finish, and Reutimann's done that. He's been completed 96.5% of the laps in the last 4 races at Martinsville. He's only dropped out of 1, and that was for a rear end problem. And for the WIX Filters Lap Leader Award, I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. He'll lead 100 laps. He's pretty good at Martinsville. And if you're crazy enough to go with somebody other than Johnson or Gordon in Tier 1, then Hamlin's your guy, but I'd stay away. So that's our picks for the week. We'll talk about Jeff Gordon in Tier 1, Juan Pablo Montoya in Tier 2, and David Reutimann in Tier 3. Thanks for paying attention to the WIX Filters Pick 3 Stock Car Racing Fantasy Challenge. We'll talk to you next week.